All right, here we go again. Like I have to increase the audio volume here. All right, is that enough there? How about that? Testing the audio, testing. There we go. Okay, so one thing you should understand: I'm not anti-immigrant either. My ex-wife was an immigrant. I've tried to marry an immigrant, and the deep state blocked it. So they're not helping immigrants. So Democrats aren't helping it. There were some Republicans, but mostly Democrats. Right? Because even if it's a Republican, they need the Democrat who is the immigrant community itself to block me. Again, I'm a wonderful husband. I really am. So I was one of the original backers of DACA, and when I pushed, it went through. Again, everybody knows I'm an inside. I'm a psychic force in these things. Right. But the idea of DACA is that it's not a victimless crime. The child was a victim of a group of people, whether it was their parent, a friend of the family, a narco organization that brought them across the border or took them to the border and said, walk up to that officer there. Right. Well, because at this point, that's where it is. They're gaming the system. There's no adult around to, implicate. So in the DACA program, it's not a victimless crime. It's based upon the child being a victim of a crime. It isn't only based upon the idea that the child's a child when they get here and they're not responsible. It's the idea that the child was a victim of a crime. And that's what the programs are. Some of the naturalization programs we have, victims of crimes, again, that has been abused by the immigrant community. Right. Once upon a time it wasn't, but it is now. They were gaming it. So what was required, which they didn't do, was a statement of facts. How did you get here? Who brought you here? Now, you don't have to divulge that information, but it is a government statement. It is tendering a statement. And if you lie, if you're on the phone to your mother and the government finds out this is what was supposed to happen, and you're on the phone to your mother, I mean, not that we want to catch anybody in anything, but if you lie about knowing how you got here and you talk to your mother about that while they're monitoring for some reason, maybe you're on the fringe of a narcotics organization or maybe part of a narcotic, you can get charged with a false statement. Right. But they just kind of said, everybody, like the thing of letting everybody in and say they're helping the immigrant community. They ruined the immigrant community. That's what they did. Letting all these people in ruined the immigrant community. You know how many kids were molested based upon letting whoever in? And again, the idea of assimilation, when they come in, look, you'll be arrested and deported if you touch a child. You need to tell them that. I mean, it's that simple. They come in from Afghanistan, they come in from Central and South America. You touch a child, you'll be arrested and deported. Right? That's why they use the pedophile scam. Pedophiles always use the pedophile scam. Right? Right. Everybody's a pedophile but them. Right. And they'll try to say that's who I am, but no, I'm the other way. I believe in mitigating circumstances sometimes in that. And I've explained why judges will sometimes only give somebody probation. Well, because they felt somebody was involved, like the deep state or something like that. Like the person, right. They're not going to tell you that. Like, again, nobody speaks about it. And again, a lot of it, sometimes it's just CIA type people, and they're just not going to talk about it. Right. There was a judge, that Wayne Ritchie, the deputy in like the 60s, that said he was drugged by CIA. The judge said something that judges don't say. And obviously he most likely knew that Wayne Ritchie was drugged. Because you can't pay the highest price for national security without having been drugged. Right. and not, well, this is the point. Okay, let me say it back. You can't pay the highest price for national security without actually having been drugged and then the court not acknowledging it. Right. You understand that? Because just being drugged doesn't, you're not paying the highest price for national security. It's being drugged and then the judiciary not, at liberty to go through with the case. That's paying the highest price for national security. So again, the idea is that DACA was designed by me and other people. I'm a lobbyist, a free lobbyist. I don't charge anybody money. I expect to live my life peacefully. We're not anti-immigrant. In fact, what Biden did ruined the immigrant community. Not that it wasn't already ruined, but the narcos ruined it. Right. But Biden made it worse. Because now, who the hell is your neighbor? You don't know. Right. So it's very important that we get a toxicology on Mrs. Good. And if it comes out of Minnesota, as far as, without FBI oversight, who knows what it really is. And the more I think about it, she's unhinged. If you really think about what's going on there, they're going, oh, look, she's not mad. She's unhinged, man. She's unhinged. She might be high. Well, because when I look at her, she reminds me of my ex-wife. The prescription narcotics killed my ex-wife and our marriage. Well, because they'll do that. I'm not mad, and then they'll try to kill you in the next breath. Right. Because they're lofty. They're in a lofty mind. So there's no inhibition. They don't feel pain causing pain to you. Right. So based upon her location, there's a higher probability that she was on some sort of narcotic or had recently been on some sort of narcotic. That's the other part that people don't like to talk about, how it has lingering effects. Rewires the brain. Again, we know Jacob Fry is responsible for the death of a lot of people, including the people that are using drugs in his city. He sends his people. Do you think he could have put together a guardian angel organization like Curtis Sliwa and hopefully Mandami? Right. That's the only way he's going to be able to do it. Right. And then maybe reduce narcotics overdoses and narcotics distribution. In fact, there's Native American organizations just across the border in Canada that could help him set it up. Bear Clan in Edmonton. But instead, he sends them out there on lunacy. You're not protecting an immigrant, even if they believe you're protecting them by going after ICE. They're going to be raped, they're going to be murdered, they're going to be put on drugs, they're going to be prostituted by those immigrants you're protecting. And what makes it difficult, well, mayors like Fry make it difficult to bust all the crime going on. But the larger the unlawful immigrant community is, even if they are legalized somehow, they go, well, we'll just make them citizens, and then they won't be unlawful. They're still the same people. So the larger the unlawful immigrant community is, The larger the immigrant community is, the harder it is to police that community. Well, because look at their country. Why did it fail? Because of ICE? Is that why Mexico's failed? Is that why Venezuela and Colombia are failed? Colombia's not much better. I had a girlfriend in Colombia. Again, Deep State killed it. It was her idea. It wasn't mine. she needed up, and I said, "Well, I'll come down there and we'll meet. And even if we don't marry, I'll see if I can help you and your sister." They were left by their mother. They were younger. I said, "You sure about this?" I'm an older man. I mean, I was being pressed in a relationship. I don't think she was defrauding me. I don't know if she would have stayed with me when she got it. That's why I was like, "Well, I'll just go help them. I won't do anything in life." And she had a kid. The other woman, the sister, didn't have a kid. The sister was like Rastafarian or something. Colombia. I guess there's this Rastafarian push in Colombia, or was at least. I think she just likes smoking pot, but marijuana, cannabis, whatever you call it. Mary Jane. Dope. And where was I going with that? Oh yeah, Colombia. She got her phone stolen, and she was explaining how hard it was to live in Colombia, especially a young lady alone. So she had I sent her money for a few $100. I said $250 or something for a phone. That was like over 10 years ago. Right. Yeah, probably 15 almost. So it's no better. It's a shithole, okay? I love Colombian people. I love Colombia, but it's a shithole. So again, they're not up here causing us to succeed or allowing us to succeed. They're trying to steal the United States. And what are they doing by doing that? They're turning us into Colombia. We already have more corrupt cops than we've ever had in this nation. And that started sometimes around, I mean, it existed since I was in the government, but like 2012, it started really increasing when the narcotics were, because the money increases. Right? So you're not helping immigrants. You're turning their American dream into rape, murder, narcotics, kidnapping, assault, prostitution, defrauding. I mean, think about all the money that they stole from that food program. Think about that. That's disgusting. Oh, but there was a white woman somewhere in there. It was the white woman's fault. Who's the white woman? Some Democratic Party operative, probably. Right? And not to be down on the Democratic Party, but you're obviously in the wrong, what I call in the wrong way. You're in the wrong way, Democratic Party. Get right or be gone. Well, you're not going to make it. The American public doesn't want what's going on in Minneapolis. No, it's in the news. People are protesting. The people that are protesting the death of Mrs. Good are overwhelmingly the same people that were Mrs. Good. So again, bullshit. Yeah, Kamala Harris is going to win. I can't wait. It's going to be great. It was bullshit. At least Trump was like, well, maybe we could lose. I mean, there's a chance here somewhere. At some point, some Democratic Party poll came out, and Trump's like, well, I guess maybe we could lose. I don't know. I don't believe the Democratic Party polling for a second. Right. It doesn't matter. I just do whatever Hashem tells me. He probably wanted Trump in, so I had to back Kamala Harris. But I honestly did. I mean, again, I'm trying to explain to you, when Hashem does it, he steers me in a direction. So Satan doesn't know what's up. I don't even know what's up. I just do what God tells me. There's a curse on me for whoever, because they knew I could pick the winner. They watched me, CIA and those type of people, and the FBI, like guy was backing Mrs. Good and all that. She should be back, but again, her and her wife don't know how to take care of themselves. They're defrauded by liberal nutbags. And again, it might be just like a cult. You know, I'm part of the cult. I get money because I'm part of the cult. I don't know. That's still, you know, everybody's looking into how they get money, how they moved around. I mean, their parents could be rich. I don't know. But somehow they were able to leave. I don't remember what state it was. It was a conservative state. They left it, went to Canada when Trump got elected, and then came back. That takes a lot of money. And have enough gas to drive around and chase after ICE and buy a whistle. And she focuses on the whistle. We had whistles and they had guns. You had a 4,500 pound, give or take a couple hundred pounds, Honda Pilot. Bigger than a gun. Now, just so you know, Mrs. Christian, Mrs. Good, you ever notice that? Oh, the people are appalled. They're speaking ill of the dead. That's a scam. There's something there. Right. They don't want you to look and speak about who they were because there's meant to be something bigger there. We'll find out if they purchased narcotics, that type of thing. Right. Well, we need to get to the bottom of what it actually is so we can fix it. You ever hear the truth will set you free? Mrs. Good was embarking on fleeing and eluding. Most likely, somewhere in the next 5 miles or so, ICE would have initiated a pit maneuver. That could have killed her, could have killed the agent, but would have saved the public from what could have happened because she's running around like a nutbag. She's crazy. I'm not mad. Get out of the vehicle, lady, like everybody else that isn't mad. Right. I mean, let's say what's normal. What she's doing and what her wife was doing is not normal. Is not the American dream. Is not safe. Is unhinged. No, she reminded me of my ex-wife. I'm not mad. Next minute, whoa! Kung Fu maneuver. God saved my life, believe me. Because I was asleep, I couldn't see it. So when it's all said and done, I wake up like, oh my God, how did I do that? How did I defend against those? People die from knife thrusts from a loved one every day, almost. Across the globe, not just in the United States. How did I make it? It had to be God. Overhead strike. Cross wrists. Side thrust. It's like, you know, Kung Fu movie. Actually, this is what the CIA did. Again, they were part of it. So they're trying to get me to kill myself like Jonathan Luna. I'm going out to, and their wacko woman, Jonathan Luna's buddy, made trouble for me right before I went out to San Francisco. Maybe that was their plan. You know, they're looking at what it psychologically does to me. So I go, she was a psychological operator. She probably had something to do with John's death. Right. Don't know what it is, but, you know, the operators know what it is. Like that guy that called, you know, or did the video. Oh, you don't shoot people that are fleeing. I'm disgusted at this. Well, how much are they paying for that? They already paid him, I guarantee it. Somebody already called him up and told him they need him to speak at their gathering. And it's because we really thank him for what he did. And he's going to get paid like, you know, $100,000 for a $2,000 speech, if that. Right. So I get on an airplane to go to San Francisco for a protective detail on a judge. And this stewardess, this flight attendant, I guess they call them, she tries to get my attention. So I knew something was up. I brought protein bars. Never eat on a plane if you're a deep state target. Never eat on a plane if you're a deep state target. Because they work for the CIA, the corrupt CIA. So what she does, I go to the bathroom, and it's back behind the flight attendant galley. And when I walk out, she takes, because they have listening devices in our house. So my wife is slamming drawers and making noise with the silverware and grabbing a knife and all that. Right. Believe me, they know a terrorist is going to be a terrorist before he's a terrorist or she's a terrorist. They're gaming everyone. So the flight attendant takes the drawer and goes bam and slams it. And then she laughs. She goes, hee hee. But there's no doubt she was working for them. They wanted me to try to hit on her, while at the same time trying to cause me to be gay and not hit on women. Right. Either way, they got a plan. She would complain to the Marshal Service or something. Oh, your agent tried to hit on me on the plane. While she was, floating around me with nonverbals. Right. Again, every one of these women that they're using are trying to pick me up with nonverbals, and if I were to say anything, they would deny that they did anything nonverbal. Again, you're crazy. We're sane. We drive around Minnesota. Trying to save the immigrant narco. So again, Mrs. Good was most likely high, or had the effects of being high. Now, if her partner's the only one that used, she could still have the effects, right? Oh, because they're kissing and everything else. Right. Thank you, Larry. But she's unhinged, man. She's unhinged. That's what you're looking at there. An unhinged woman. I mean, why is she saying she's not mad? She is mad. That's why she's out there. Right. It's a scam. And of course, it's almost like good cop, bad cop. She's unhinged, saying, I'm nice. And then the other lady yo, bud, go get some lunch, bud, walk off. Right. So she's trying to resurrect herself, resurrect her movement. She made her excited utterance, and that was the truth. She caused her partner to be dead, but if she's not going to come clean, then it's her. But if she comes clean, they did it to you. They brainwashed you. Again, if she's a Christian, she's not supposed to be out there. Right. No, you don't tell me examples in history. Tell me what the scripture says. Right. That's putting yourself in a dangerous situation. You're testing the Lord your God. You're jumping off the temple where Rabbi Yeshua would not jump off the temple. Right. You're making it worse for the immigrants. Again, once we fix everything, the immigrant community will thank us for keeping them safe in their communities. Now they're illegally here, so they can give a hell about everybody's safety. Right. It does us no good not to keep the United States and our immigrant communities up. It's not providing the American dream. Yeah, they're getting the American dream, but what is it? Again, they're not showing all the riches they had while they're here now. Oh, I'm an average American. Look at my house. And I'll have to go back to my other country and build my other house that I was working on. I have to finish it early. It was my retirement home. Meanwhile, every American's going, how do you get a house here? How do you even get a house? Let me a retirement home somewhere else. Oh, it's the exchange rate. It's just the exchange rate. Oh, they're hardworking Americans. It's money laundering. So they buy those houses because they work for people that overly pay them because they're immigrants, won't hire Americans, And it's drug money, it's fraud, Somali fraud money, and that type of thing. So then they go out and buy a house. Yee, American dream. Hardworking American. Politicians know that because they're recipients of those funds. So that's how it works. They have a business, somebody goes to work for the business, then somebody in that business goes and visits the politician and gives the politician money, either on the books or off the books. I didn't know it was a narco. You're the big donor. What's his name? Buck. Shooting up young black men with meth, and then they want to talk about Epstein. I mean, you know, not saying he's better, not saying he's worse. As long as Bill Clinton had a career, they didn't want anything about Epstein coming out, as well as a couple other people. Right. The only reason it's coming out is Bill Clinton's old enough just to let it go. They're not going to arrest him. Right. And again, they're complaining about the lack of information. Again, we're out here protecting the immigrant. You're not even a law enforcement officer. You're fake. So apparently the Philadelphia lady was the sheriff. It wasn't the chief of police like they were saying. Chief of police has since come out and said that's bullshit. We're not part of that. They have nothing to do with enforcing the law here. They just drive people back and forth to court and maintain the jails, I guess, in some way. Right. Thank you, Larry. Because what she's doing, she's causing Mrs. Good to exist and putting Mrs. Good out there because she's an official. And she's saying, oh, they're fake law enforcement. You go out there and do that all day, and we'll back you. We'll even arrest them. She's like the fake AI videos one step further. Right. I don't know how many of those people believe it. I mean, they're on drugs, half of them. Do they actually believe the AI videos? You need to find that out. You have to interview the people that are helping you now. Some people have been deprogrammed. Right. You have to interview them, find out what the mindset was. What did they believe? What do they believe? Could they? They could even sit there, even if they weren't part of that part of it. They could say, would you believe that when you were in there? And tell them to be honest. Don't give you the question you want just because you maybe paid them $1,000 a week or something, or a month, whatever it is the informant gets. Right. You're on wiretap. I mean, you're on wire. People all day talking to you are wearing recording devices. So again, I mean, at this point, you need, the benefit to law enforcement that they know. They need to shut up and they need to go home. Right. We care about these people, even though Mayor Fry and the governor don't. Well, the victim doesn't have to sue. The government could sue on their behalf or at least charge. So we need to figure out, or I guess short of charge, you can actually, I guess it's regular. See, that's state and local. That's the problem. Some of the laws you need to use are state and local to shut down some of these organizations. Right. So I'm not sure how that works. Again, you could sue the state and locals if we're not enforcing the law. Right. Again, it's at a certain stage of the game. It's corruption, but again, you're having a venue issue. So you might need to try to figure that out. You might want to sting them. Right. It's not freedom of speech. That's all bullshit. It's not freedom of speech to sit across the street from a synagogue while people are attempting to go to a house of worship. Yeah, Mrs. Good wasn't out on a house of worship outing, okay?
not by any stretch of the imagination. But again, a synagogue, people are affected, traumatized by what went on at that synagogue in Queens. It's not lawful. You can't put police there and say everybody was protected. They can go protest somewhere else besides the house of worship. Houses of worship are protected. Unless you want us to bring people to your mosque. I mean, is that what you want next? You want people to go to your mosque on Friday night prayers and talk shit? Is that what the mayor of New York wants? So again, you have time to react. You need to make sure people do not stand outside houses of worship harassing the members. Just their presence with the flag would harass them. If you support Palestine, fine. Don't support it in a place that would harass the people that are inside the house of worship or entering their house of worship. And or, actually. I'm just telling you what the Supreme Court case is going to say. That the people at the house of worship have legitimate reason to be there. The others do not. Go to the Embassy of Israel and do that. That's what you want to actually do. Right. That's lawful protest. Again, your game's going to end because I'm going to drive the Justice Department to get all of you. We're going to get you. No, not that. That's your mentality. But they will get you. We will close the loop on protests and define what lawful protest is and what unlawful protest is. If the state's not going to use their laws, and again, that's another part of it. You need to find how to muscle the state into doing what they were elected to do. Just because they hold that position doesn't mean they get to do whatever they want to do. They have laws on the books. And the reason that the federal government doesn't enforce those laws is because the state's supposed to do it. If the state isn't enforcing those laws, the federal government has a requirement to bring the military in. Because the government itself is then a criminal. It is no longer a government. Nobody's going to stand up in Minnesota and say what they need to say and what they're saying inside. You're thugs. You're corrupt cops. They're not going to say anything because you're going to come visit them at their business, their kids at the school, try to split their marriage apart. Deep state shit. Foreign government, spycraft, operation shit. That's who's running that show. Somali spies or Somali warlords. Oh, they love walls. They're trying to figure out how to get more money to it. Same thing with Jacob Fry. Now, the number of police officers that go, yes, sir, no, sir. But when an American veteran comes up that's homeless on the sidewalk, they cuff him and throw him in prison. Said, I'm not going to tell you again not to sleep here. But yes, sir, no, sir, Mr. Somali, Mrs. Somali with the bride. Of stolen taxpayer funds. Are they narcos at all? Are the Somalis moving narcotics? I mean, they're entrepreneurs, right? They're like Colombia. We're entrepreneurs. We're not dope dealers. You're the ones that use it. Is that Colombian president gone yet? Well, I guess he's come to the United States to beg forgiveness. Throw himself on the mercy of Trump. We're not kidding. The narcotics are over. You narcos are over. It's going to take a couple years, but it's going to be real within 2 years. And for Venezuela, of course, it's beginning to become real. It's a form of cucking, a form of bitching our country. We're their bitch. We're their cuck. It's their minds. ICE knows it. They've already talked to me inside. Right? They're rejecting with their wealth, their ill-gotten gains, their corrupt money. The FBI is, yeah, okay. Yes, sir, no, sir. Give me money. That's what the FBI is, or at least was. Bunch of money grubbers. Sell out. They sold Moon out. Foreign bosses, Russians, and others. Who do you think Baltimore worked for? Right? Because he had a sense of right and wrong, a real sense of right and wrong. That's why they killed him. He didn't pass the psychology test for being a piece of shit that they all were. Shit is as shit does. Isn't that what's his name said? Forrest Gump. It's like a PR firm. You become part of the deep state, they make you famous in whatever it is you're doing. Even if you're just a piece of shit sitting at the office, you're the best piece of shit that ever has sat at an office. Right? Again, we need a toxicology report. We need to know everything about Good and her wife. That's why they're doing that shit. Oh, you're talking about the dead. Well, you know what? I guarantee if she ran over that agent, you'd have some choice things to say about that agent, and you would actually say he earned it. That's what you would say. Like Chuck Schumer wouldn't say fucking bitch if somebody tried to run him over. Every single one of your politicians, just about, except for maybe a few, would say fucking bitch. Right? Or something similar. Again, the reality of what a human is and how a human reacts and what a human perceives is what we're all about. Science. Not the bullshit that you're all trying to put out. It's, you know what it's like? I used to make this joke about because this is what they would do in court after they arrest a cop. It would do like it was a lethal weapon movie. Like it was Mel Gibson and a stuntman. Right. Well, couldn't he have done 50 backflips and then jumped on top of the vehicle, looked in the window and woo! And then she would be thrown off by his immense unsuspected movement, and then she would have probably slammed on the brakes to try to get him up the hood, and then he could have flipped inside the vehicle and then grabbed the keys and turned the car off. That's what you're acting like in the New York Times or Post, whatever the fuck it is, or Washington, whatever one tried to do that. Oh, look here, a fraction of a second later. You could have actually, once she started moving directly at him, you could have, like, let's say you could end his life in a split second. He still would have shot her. Because that's how the human body works, the human brain and reactions and all those type of things. And when you're, again, they shouldn't be out there because he's trained. That's why he fired 3 times. They don't fire once and then stop. Once they initiate the trigger pull, they have to stop you. In other words, he can't shoot you just because he wants to have you, again, I want to say this in the right way. He can't shoot you in the arm. so you can't steer the vehicle. He has to shoot to kill you, which if you're trained is 3 shots. So he spends a lot of time on a pistol range going boop, 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 boop. So he got again, he's trained to do that because that's what stops a person, not beep. But because if I go beep and you still drive down the road, what happens? Somebody else gets hit. Well, you circle back around and try to, nobody knows what she would have done. She could have circled back around and tried to kill everyone. Right. So the question of whether she was going to hit him directly or kind of off, or he had a second, or she changed her mind, that's bullshit. She made herself a threat, a lethal threat. Let's remember where we are in this world. Police officer, especially a federal agent, obviously dressed as a federal agent. Get out of the vehicle. Yes, sir. What did I do? What's going on? I saw your taillights out. I just wanted to show you that. Oh, okay, thank you. That's normal. Right. And believe me, I was interdicted corruptly. I spoke about it. I had to take a shit. I stopped in, I think, eastern Missouri, I think around St. Louis or something like that. Or actually, it was a little further. I don't remember where. But it was somewhere in Missouri. Spent the night. I came from Santa Fe. I had an empty van. I was picking up my stuff in Indiana to drive back because it had been in storage for like 3 years, 4 years or something. Like 3 years. So I had to get the stuff out of storage. So I get interdicted. Was it Texas or Oklahoma? It was like Texas, Oklahoma area, like twice. Like 10 minutes after the first interdiction. So somebody's harassing me. I knew I was being harassed. But I went with it. Right. So the next day I sleep and this is what I tell you. If you sleep at anywhere, like a public place, like a rest stop, which is what I did, like a truck stop I slept at in the van. Obviously, it makes sense. Right? I didn't use the bathroom. I used the bathroom. Twice this happened to me. It was just, once I had to use the bathroom. I did. I drove. I told him I drive to the Bally's. I had to go to the bathroom. I walked into the wrong locker room. And there was nobody's, like, the curse kicked in. Because there was nobody, like, there's a woman standing there. I'm like, oh, excuse me, ma'am. But I go and I sit in the toilet. And it actually happened to a coworker at the courthouse. We had a big alert. Man in the woman's bathroom with a gun. It's a deputy with his holster, you know, his belt and his pants down his ankles while he's on the crapper. He walked in the wrong bathroom. So it happens. And I did a report with the people there. Oh, no, I had to go to the bathroom. But same thing happened. I had to use the bathroom. So I hit Illinois border, and I'm like looking for the next truck or exit with a truck stop or something. And I think there's a Walmart is where I decided to go. Right? They're usually kind of clean. Right? So I see him in the center aisle, and he pulls out behind me, and I'm like, they're doing me again. And then you have to understand, this is after not being married with kids and having fun in life and having the freedom to go, woo, 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 woo. I'm just blowing a whistle. None of that. Yeah, that's what I used to do. You know how the teachers, they act like the kids? Like they'll have a day during the year where they dress up like the kids and act like the kids. Do a skit where you act like them. Give them a dose of it. Or maybe even do it. Get a whistle. That's a good one, actually. This is actually military intelligence type of response. Everybody get a whistle. And when they start blowing the whistle, start blowing the whistle back at them. Actually, that's kind of loud. You know what I mean? The whistle is pretty cool. But I was saying you can get one of those things, the truck horn. Every time they start blowing whistles, go. Be louder than they are. Yeah, probably cops will come and cite you. Oh, you're too loud. Right. But I had to use the bathroom. And my life had been destroyed for decades at that point. A decade and a half, 2 decades, very seriously. But they've been in my life since the 80s. Right. So, again, I didn't know it. It wasn't like, oh, I know because if I'd known the deep state was in my life in my 80s, they'd never been able to do that to me. They didn't launch their final solution in my life until the deep state had like almost absolute power in government. Right. So I had to use the bathroom. I mean, bad. It wasn't just one of those little things. Cramping type of stuff. Right. And I pull off and we go to the parking lot. He follows me and he gets in behind me and says, I want to ask you a couple questions. I said, look, I got to use the bathroom. He goes, not yet. I have to ask you questions. So again, don't tell me what your rights are and how it all works, because I know how it works. And I've been through real harassment. You're not that harassed in life. You got a wife, you're having a great life compared to a lot of people that are forced to be alone by criminals in government, narcos, immigrants, Somalis. They're part of the deep state, all of you. That's how they enforce it. I told you that years ago. With corrupt foreigners who are willing to sacrifice their neighbor to get rich. You'll find Americans to do it, but not as many. Right. So that's another reason they brought the immigrants in, to increase the number of people that will work with the deep state in a criminal fashion. So again, he asked me, a bunch of questions. I gave him a bunch of answers. I mean, I don't even think I had my morning coffee. I had to use the bathroom. I think the coffee was going to be not Starbucks, in the Walmart. I bought a, latte or whatever. And he just kept talking to me. And then at the final point was, can I search your vehicle? I said, you can search my vehicle, but, I haven't searched it myself. I just picked it up and got on the road. So I made that clear. So he said, can I look under the seats? I said, yeah, but I didn't. I'm just telling you that. Right. Most, the average American is not going to look under the seats. Because apparently there's a compartment underneath the seats in these vans. Now, one couldn't I was saying, well, they may have used that, but somebody called in, knowing that you just wanted me to be harassed. That's how they do it. Right. Probably Rick Henry or somebody that was put into it by him. Right. So again, I've been through it and I've been really harassed. So again, you're not going to tell me that that's the appropriate way to handle that. Right. So what they did in Oklahoma is they followed me while I was trying to find an apartment, and they made sure each apartment place gamed me. They made me leery of moving in. Right. So constructively blocked me and denied my housing rights. But one day, while I've been out for months looking for a place to live to feel comfortable to live, versus me being moved in, and again, I don't drive, especially then I don't even drive that much now. Right. The only time I drove was when I healed places. And at that point, I had already slowed it down because it just didn't make sense anymore. Right. And I didn't have money, gas prices were up, that kind of thing. So that's part of it not making sense, just to be honest. Right. Right. So what they did is they followed me around. I drove real slow. I've been pulled over for going 10 miles under the speed limit before. I don't know if it was set up to try to make me drive faster, but I just generally how I used to drive. Right. And they drove around me until they were able to get me to go over the speed limit. It took a while. It took months, if not, more than a year. Again, they're behind you, they're beside you, they're in front of you. They're willing it, but they're also presenting psychological impetus for you to drive faster based upon spycraft. So what they do is they lead me to a speed trap, and then they all turn. And I go straight at the faster speed and get a ticket. And my insurance goes up by like $600. Whatever, what do they call it? Every 6 months. Where I had like I think my insurance was like $600, and then it became $1,200 during the Biden inflation era. And that was their intention. So don't tell me what you do and what you don't do, and how what she did was correct. I didn't flip off the officer when he pulled me over. Probably should have, but didn't. Right. Somebody said his coworkers flipped him off. Thanks, Larry. That's really thank you for your service. That's how they treat veterans. The only people they thank for their service really are deep state veterans. So again, we have to get back to the idea. First, she's not supposed to be out there because that's felony. Just because you're not, I always bring this up because the deep state will create situations where their people aren't prosecuted. So I said, if you're not prosecuted, it doesn't mean you're innocent of a crime. You can even be found innocent, and that's our system. We go with it, but you could still be guilty of a crime. Right. Again, the idea of what the best system is, and the best system is that we get rid of the deep state and then everything becomes honest or more honest. And I'm not a stickler for prosecution, and neither are these ICE people. It's just not worth it. There's only certain things that you need to prosecute. Right. But again, they're doing you a favor. Mr. Lyons, Director Lyons, is doing you a favor by taking you in for 24 hours. And of course, the deep state makes it all stupid and tries to ruin the effect. The idea is if I take you in for 24 hours, I don't have to charge you. You don't have to have a felony. But at least you might think twice. And a lot of times it worked. Again, he's not going to tell you that, but Mr. Lyons knows, Director Lyons knows, that if he takes you in for 24 hours, or he has taken people in for 24 hours, and then they stopped. Right. They may still have an opinion. They may still protest. They may still lobby online, but they're not out there following ICE agents. Right. It's dangerous for everybody involved. I don't want us to be a prison nation. That's part of why we're doing this. Being a prison nation is abhorrent, but what's more abhorrent is what's going on with narcotics, what's going on with sex trafficking, what's going on with assault of law enforcement officers, what's going on is disrespect for the law and order. Again, it's worse than, you have to understand that these people are engaged in something that's worse than violating the law. It's like violating the law right in front of a law enforcement officer to the next level. Violating the law against a law enforcement officer. Real time during an active law enforcement operation. Let's say you can diss a cop at 7-Eleven when he stops to get a burrito. And it's still better than this. Although some cops, if they got a donut, might be worse than this. Disrespecting a cop with a donut in his hand. That might be a death penalty. See, we can make jokes. They can make jokes. He's married to a Filipino. I was married to a Korean. I tried to marry a Latino woman, a Filipino woman, but the deep state got involved. Right. Well, I think they make better wives as long as the deep state doesn't interfere. Right. I mean, would I marry Mrs. Good? Let's say Mrs. Good and her partner were just two heterosexual women. I would marry a foreign woman before I would marry them. That's what's wrong with our women. And it's not that they're gay. Let's take that out of the equation. My wife was more conservative than I was in reality. My kids were more conservative. I was like, oh my God, what did I do? Now my one daughter's gay. I don't have a relationship with them, which the deep state designed. It wasn't anything our family would have ever designed. Right. You can fight City Hall, but you can't fight shitty halls. And they're mighty shitty. Right. Nice. But one daughter's gay. My other daughter, is half Korean. She was arrested for being Korean as a kid. Right. Thank you. Thank you, sure. I mean, they're both half Korean. So again, ICE isn't allowed to speak, so I speak. And I let you know what we go through in life and who we are. Right. Again, they probably have a better life than I do. And they do have deep state people in their midst. But it probably wasn't what it was when I was in, because it wouldn't have happened that way had, it been minimized. It was pretty much the height of that shit, right, during the Clinton administration. And again, me being conservative, and again, what they called conservative today is not what they called conservative in the 90s or even in the 80s. Right. So again, right. Well, I think one of the basic tenets that's gone out of conservative life is live and let live. Again, it's big government to say you can't be gay. It's big government, But again, safety is the predominant. As far as the military, being gay, I guess they can't get rid of it. But being trans, I was partly behind that because it's reality. If you go to again, this is where it came from, the Bradley Manning cases. Certain requirements were put on the military because of the risks of detransition and the risks of not transitioning. The military has plenty of people that are disqualified from military service based upon that. Actually, Donald Trump, bone spurs or foot spurs, whatever it was. Right. The president himself was disqualified from government for military service. So again, this is just, they blow it up bigger than it is. I said, give them all a good retirement. And then if you're not, you can't let them in, or you're going, again, I think they're owed retirement. I don't know if they sued or how they did it. But once you're in and they let you in, it doesn't matter what president it is. If they put you out and that condition existed when you were in and they accepted it, or even, let's say you don't transition. Let's say in your mind, you feel like you have gender dysphoria. But when you're in the military, they encourage you to transition. You transition. They owe you money. They owe you a retirement. Now, I don't know how much money it's going to be, but right. And I said, go to work for the civilian government. Better, much better. Believe me. It's like going for Starbucks and again, the military is probably like that in some fields. I was a combat engineer, so it's a little bit different. If you look like you're happy, it was time for the sergeant major to torture you. So you had to walk around like you weren't happy. We'd call everybody in and do something evil to us. But I mean, the civilian government, if it's, not corrupt, it's much better. Believe me, I steered you in the right direction if that's what you did. Well, a trans person is a non-trans person until it interferes with some sort of operational thing, and that's what happened there. Because there's a supply system. And if part of that supply is increased because we have to give you your hormones and we can't send morphine and we can't send antibiotics, right. Or next a case of food, right. And then you're out there and we can't get it to you and you detransition and you're holding a rifle, and supposedly Bradley Manning could kill himself if he didn't transition, or she at this point. Right. I don't know, what is it, Candace Manning? What's his name now? Is it Bradley still? Or what? Yeah, Bradley Manning should change his name to Candace Manning, make Candace angry. And she'd bring it up. He's doing that to me. It's a deep state. They're torturing me. Candace would have a field day if Bradley Manning changed his name to Kansas. So again, I just want to hit home that what's in the media is bullshit. And in fact, this officer was dragged by a vehicle, which shows that he's cursed. And for some reason, they're cursing him. He's cursed like the guy that died of the cocaine, but he's alive because he has power to stay alive. Right. Could be the Filipino wife. I don't know. Right? That guy didn't have a Filipino wife to love him, to boost him, to speak well of him. See? That's why they also get rid of the wife. That's why they get rid of the friends, because they can lift you up just by their well opinion of you. The deep state is a devil. And the devil and the deep state are causing that stuff in Minneapolis and caused that death. They own it. The officer is doing his job. In fact, they're not even supposed to be here. This is the point that I'm trying to hit home. They're not even supposed to be there. The local and state police are supposed to keep them away from the officers while they're doing their job. Apparently, the guy in Philadelphia believes that. I'm not sure where that would go if we had some big task force in Philadelphia. I mean, I guess the mayor would fire him, I guess, or he'd have to do what they want. Right. They're not supposed to be out there. They're committing felony crimes. And they're violating noise regulation. They're violating unlawful assembly regulation. I'm sure a couple other state and local things. Again, the way they're driving, that's traffic infractions. Right. Stalking, state stalking. They're violating state stalking laws. Especially when it's a little more difficult on duty, but it's still prosecutable. But when they go to where they sleep at night, oh, that's stalking. Right. Again, they're not international observers, and that's obvious. In fact, international observers would be shot if they blew those whistles. Right? And she got shot. Now, it's not because of her whistle. That's for sure. But again, maybe it was. Maybe he could have moved quicker. Maybe he would have had a little bit more intuition to step out of the way 30 seconds earlier. Maybe she wanted him in front of the vehicle. Maybe not to kill him, but to juke him. Right? And then it got herself killed. Because he doesn't know. He doesn't know what's in her mind. We don't know. But she definitely moved that vehicle in his direction. It definitely hit him. So again, the first part of this is she's not even supposed to be here. A judge is not going to side with her and let that case go forward unless it's some stupid court. Right? And then the appeal will kill it. Right. She's committing a felony and she was in the middle of a traffic stop. And she aimed her vehicle at the officer. Whether she wanted to scare him and juke him or kill him, he doesn't know. Again, her girlfriend is responsible also, but I don't believe they're responsible if they'll just say, hey, people made us believe something wasn't true. They need to be deprogrammed. What happens is she was reprogrammed. She went and hung out with some of the bigs. And they're, oh, it's horrible what they did to you. Right. 100%. And she, that's why they excited. You can see it right there. That's like that's a perfect example of excited utterance and why that's considered more truthful than what people say later. Right.
All right, my screen went out. I guess it's telling me it's time to, probably about an hour or something. Yeah.
So again, our goal is to find a way to get them off the streets and get them to protest someplace responsible. You're insane if you're confronting people with, again, they're making you believe in some altruistic ideology that's bullshit. You're not supposed to be out there I'm confronting people with guns because I'm brave, I'm a hero. You should be thanking me for my service. Right? These are people that never served in the military, and I speak about these squirrels all the time. And they're seeking that same, credit for service somewhere else. And again, like I said, if you're raising three kids and you're really taking care of your kids and you're a single mother, hey, if you ask me, thank you for your service. But not if you're out there doing that shit. Now your kids don't have a mother.